What's up, guys? So today I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about this machine right here, which is the Cheyenne Soul Nova. It's Cheyenne's new machine that at least I've been really anticipating and waiting for this one to come out. I'm a huge fan of the Hawk pen, so I really wanted to see the next generation. So I'm going to give you kind of the rundown of the specs. I'm going to give you kind of cost and all the information I can about the kind of facts about the machine, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about my opinion, what it's good for, what it's not good for, and the pros and cons of the Soul Nova. Okay, let's get started. So, for starters, this is the packaging, if I can get it all in frame. This is not a bottle of scotch. It's what Cheyenne has decided to give us for the tiniest little tattoo machine I've ever seen. Okay, so there we go. And inside this, you're going to be underwhelmed, because what you get is you get your manual, you're going to get some grips, some disposable grips, and you're going to get your cord. It's the same orange cord that if you have a Hawk pen already, you're going to get that, and you're going to get your Soul Nova, and that's it. So they haven't given us a tray, as they have with previous models, one of these. They haven't given us, any cartridges or anything like that. So nothing fancy. And you would assume to get something fancy, because this machine costs $1,000 Canadian. It's $999 Canadian, and that translates to about $775 American. It is not cheap. This is the most expensive tattoo machine, production tattoo machine I've ever bought. And the fit and finish of the packaging is as nice as you would expect. It kind of looks like a Hawk pen, or it looks like the Soul Nova, so that I guess is kind of neat and well thought out. If you're not a fan of kind of big bulky packaging, which I am not, because I have a lot of machines and I need to store the packaging and I like the packaging to be small, you're not going to be a fan of that. But that's the most minor thing. Okay, so let's get into kind of the specs of it. So this thing weighs 150 grams. It's about 5.2 ounces, 5.3 ounces. So it's a little on the heavier side compared to the Hawk pen. I'm going to compare this continually to the Hawk pen, and there's reasons for that. One is because the Hawk pen is what I'm using primarily before this machine came out. And the Hawk pen is a machine, as a benchmark, it's been around for a lot of years. A lot of people are comfortable with it and aware of kind of how it feels and how working with it feels. Okay, so the first thing you're going to notice about this machine is it's squatted right down. So it's a shorter machine. It's about 1.25 inches around in diameter, so it's got a bigger grip. Some of you may love that, some of you may not. I prefer the smaller grip. I like 1 inch. The nice thing is the disposable grips, all except for the extra long wide grip, will fit on this machine. So you can put the 1 inch disposable grip. You could even switch over one of your Hawk pen grips over. To this machine, you're just going to have a little bit of a lip, okay? So the stroke length is 3.5 millimeter, not adjustable. You can't change the cam. You're not going to get a longer stroke length or a shorter one. You can get a needle protrusion from 0 to 4 millimeters, but the stroke length is always going to stay the same. This thing runs from 25 all the way up to 150 cycles a second, 150 hertz, and that's plenty fast enough for the majority of people. I can't imagine needing really much more than that. I run my machines as fast as they can go, and I've never had a problem needing to get over 150 hertz. The voltage that this thing runs at is 5 volts all the way up to 12.6. Okay, so a huge range. It'll run really slow. I can't imagine it's going to punch much skin at 5 volts, but certainly 12.6 is higher than even I need to run it. So let's hear it run. Again, mono plug, which we'll get into. I run a Critical XRD. It's the new the new power supply from Critical, and it really runs beautifully on that. So you can hear it. Now, I'm not sure if it comes through on the camera, but there is a little bit of an annoying kind of chuck noise that happens from this motor. I'm going to shut it off now. Especially with bigger grouping cartridges, you may hear that kind of like whirling. You know, if you're really into paying attention to what your machine's doing, and I am, and I recommend that people are, it may drive you insane. There's been a couple tattoos where the kind of droniness, that kind of, like I said, that kind of like chucking noise that comes from this motor has kind of driven me a little nutty. So just something to be aware of if you're thinking about making the investment here. So let's talk about the good and the bad about this machine, assuming there is any. So the good stuff is, you know, it feels really solid. It's really well made. I wouldn't expect any less from Cheyenne. You know, I wouldn't think that they'd give us kind of a cheap machine, and especially not give us a cheap machine and charge $1,000 for it. The motor feels really strong. The hit is good and consistent, and yet it's super smooth. I think that the detractors of this machine are going to say, well, there's no adjustability. I don't get to choose my stroke length. I don't get to choose my give. I don't get to choose. If those things are essential to you, then this is not the machine for you, and you're probably not even watching this video considering it, because you already know that Cheyenne doesn't offer those things. And in my opinion, I really don't think that they need to. I think that these machines are very intuitive, and they have kind of just the natural give of your hand, you know, feels right to tattoo with these machines, and they don't need the artificial give. Another thing that I've noticed, and again, I don't know if anybody agrees with it, but when a machine has been given tons of adjustability and tons of give, I'm not going to pick on any machine specifically, but there are quite a few of them out there that have, you know, 40 different ways to set them up. I think what happens is the overall hit of the machine and the overall feel of the machine suffer. So what I mean by that is when you can dial down the hardness of hit in a machine, that even on the hardest setting, for me, I find the hit feels spongy. You don't get the same snap from the needle, you don't get the same overall kind of feel. And that's one thing that I've always loved about Cheyenne machines is, you know, you're not pulling it out of the box and then doing 40 tattoos before you figure out, you know, oh, this setting is right for me, or no, that's still not quite right. Let me try and turn this a little bit or change this. So, yeah, you know, take this out of the box, plug it in, put it to a voltage that feels right for you, and you've just hit the sweet spot. I mean, that's, you know, it doesn't get any easier. It's not going to get any easier. Even in a coil machine, it's not going to get any easier. So, definitely a big plus. I think that this machine, again, feels more solid than the Hawk Pen. The motor feels more substantial. You can definitely tell it's different. If you're looking for a squashed down version of a Hawk Pen, you're not going to find it here. It does run differently. It feels differently. It runs at different voltages to find the kind of equivalent running cycles a second. So if I'm running 140 at 11 volts, with the Hawk Pen, I might be at 11.7 running 140 or 130 or, you know, whatever with a Sol Nova. So it is a different machine. So those are the good things about it, I think, are, you know, again, versatility, the kind of comfort of knowing that all it is plugging in the machine and getting it to the right volts, and it's dialed in, and, you know, it really does feel solid, and it's well made, and you know, the things that you would expect from kind of, you know, the German engineering and the Cheyenne name. So let's talk about the bad. For me, the biggest bad thing with this machine is this friggin' mono plug that they refuse to deal with. It's the weakest part of every Cheyenne tattoo machine. It's the first thing that goes. It has the same little hiccups as the original Hawk Pen does. Even a machine that's a year old still has the same hiccups as this machine that's brand new. Every once in a while I'll go to dip ink and my machine will go boom, it'll just stop for a second and then kick back in, and stop for a second, kick back in. Now again, I've already said I'm using arguably the best power supply available on the market today. I've got a brand new foot pedal, and obviously the cord and the machine are brand new. There's no reason that this thing should be hiccuping other than Cheyenne's obsession with keeping this bloody mono plug on their machines. It's unnecessary. It doesn't need to be proprietary anymore. And really what it feels like as a consumer, as someone who's spent my money on this thing, is that they wanted to recycle parts from the Hawk pen, and so that's what they've done. They've given us the same cord that you would buy in a Hawk pen. It might be slightly heavier gauge, but I can't even confirm that. So, I just anticipate these same issues. When I've had to send back 2 machines because of this mono plug, because it gets sloppy over time, it's going to happen again with this machine. It doesn't matter how good this brushless motor is, this state-of-the-art best motor on the market is, if you can't get power to it. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is, when you open this up, I use disposable grips because I think they're safer, they're cleaner, I like them. Okay, so let's forget about that. On this machine, there's a lip. These 2 grommets, if you're going to properly wrap this machine, you're going to put a clipcord sleeve all the way up, take this grommet off, put the grommet back on around the clipcord sleeve so it's held securely in place, and then you can put your disposable and you can wrap it with vet wrap, whatever you want to do. Okay, on the old style Hawk pen, that is completely easy to do. You just push up and the grommet comes right up and off, and then it pops right back down. So Cheyenne, in their design change, has decided, no, that's not a thing we need. So you really have to pick at this thing and pull at it and try to get it off. And I just see it breaking at some point. If I want to properly wrap this machine, and I hope that all of you want to properly wrap these machines, this is something that should have been thought about. It makes it really difficult to properly wrap the machine. And not only that, just because of the rest of the structure, because of the positioning of where it sits, when you actually do get the grip on and you're turning the grip to adjust the throw of the needle, the bag tends to wrinkle and can split and can cause, it hasn't happened to me, but I can see it happening, and I'm sure it will cause it to kind of open right up. And then I've got my unbagged machine, which clearly can't be autoclaved, so you're going to use a high-level disinfectant on it, which will probably void your warranty. Might have to check on that, but my gut tells me, soaking this thing in Cavicide or the like is going to void your warranty. So that I have an issue with. I struggled doing this review, because I love the Cheyenne Hawk pen, and I think it's a phenomenal machine, and I think this is a great machine too. But I think it's far from perfect. And I wanted to be completely honest about how I felt about this machine. I think it's a machine that I'm going to continue to use, but I think that they're probably a year ahead of where they should have been. I think that they pushed this thing out really quickly. I don't know for a fact that they didn't get honest feedback, but if they did, I don't think they took any of it to heart. It really feels like a machine that they just went, well, the Hawk pen's getting old, it's 4 years now, let's just put something else out. Put a new motor in it, crunch it down, all the same, parts are interchangeable, and we'll call it a day. And that's it. And so, what are my conclusions about the machine? I think I don't regret buying this machine, but if you have a Hawk pen that you like and is working for you, then I would stick with that. If you don't have any Cheyenne products and you want to get into something from Cheyenne, then I think either one is going to be really good. For my money, if you had none, I would probably go with the Sol Novo, because I think that the motor is more robust. They put more work into it, and if you look at the specs on it, I have to think that this motor is going to run longer, even if it may have kind of cord issues down the line. I think that it's maybe an incrementally better choice. The question is whether or not you feel it's worth the money or not, to go to this higher level versus the old Hawk pen. Okay, so that's everything that I wanted to say. I hope it's been useful. I hope it hasn't been too long. I had a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about with this machine because I anticipated it very highly. Everyone knows that has watched my videos that I'm a huge fan of Cheyenne products. Even if I may not be a huge fan of this machine, I think they still are making the best machines that are available in tattooing today. So I wanted to kind of address all my issues with it. As always, thank you for subscribing. I can't believe there's so many people that are actually watching these videos. It may not seem like a lot to have 600 or 700 people, but that's huge to me. So thank you. Again, if you want to check out my work, Requiem Tattoo _Anthony on Instagram. Please feel free to comment and like and subscribe, and thank you all again. Goodbye.